audience, Assalamu alaikum. A gracious welcome to you all on the third and pre-quarter round of the very first inter-school English debate competition organized by Bangladesh Television Chattogram Center. A mind is like a parachute. It doesn't work unless it's been open. And it can only be warmed up for opening once you plant a seed of doubt in your brain, leading yourself to questioning your thoughts and beliefs and giving yourself a potential new perspective. Dear audience, could you have been guessing what kind of process am I talking about? Questioning to speculation to forming an opinion to finally coming to a conclusion? You have guessed it right. I'm talking about debate. Debate is a formal academic competition in which students argue both sides of a given topic. It can only be won with a really good argument and never by suppressing a discussion. It helps students to polish their critical thinking skills as well as their communication skills. Dear audience, I'm currently surrounded by some of those smart students who have opened their parachutes quite a while back and have prepared themselves to support teammates' arguments yet again another time. So on that very good note, I, your host, Prapanti Chakraborty, would love to invite you all to come along and enjoy our very lovely debate competition participated by two competed teams. Today, the selected motion for the debate competition is: parents should have partial control over their children's social media accounts. The team for the motion belongs to Fenny Girls Cadet College. The team against the motion belongs to Bangladesh Elementary School, Chattogram. Speakers for the motion are Cadet Nouri, Cadet Ruslan, Cadet Rufaida. Speakers against the motion are Muttasim Mubarsir, Zarin Anan Uma, Waziha Chaudhary. The Honorable at today's session are Muhammad Abdul Majid, ex-debater, Accounts and Audits Officer, Government of the People's Republic of Bangladesh. Muhammad Nasiruddin, former President, North-South University Debate Club and Director, Woodpecker. Ridwan Alam Adnan, former President, Southern University Debating Society and Director, Arkline. The topics on which our honorable judges are going to assign marks in the constructive round are Presentation 5, Language and Pronunciation 10, Presentation of Theory and Information 15, Argumentation and Rebuttal 10. The topics on which our honorable judges are going to assign marks in the rebuttal round are Presentation 5, Language and Pronunciation 5, Argumentation and Rebuttal 20. Dear viewers, now I would love to introduce our honorable moderator of today's program, who will be conducting the entire competition and announce the results at the end. The honorable moderator of today's debate competition is Dr. Farhana Akhtar, Head of the Department of Endocrinology, Chittagong Medical College and Hospital. Now, I would most humbly like to request you, ma'am, to come up on the stage and take your seat. Before we start the debate, I would love to inform you about the order and time allocation of each debater. Each debater will get 5 minutes to present his or her speech. An alarming bell will ring on the 4th minute and the final bell will ring on the 5th minute. In the rebuttal round, both team leaders will get 2 minutes each. Alarming bell will ring on 1.5 minutes and the final bell will ring on the 2nd minute. Before getting on to the competition, dear audience, I would like to give you a friendly reminder that from now onwards, you can not only watch our episodes on your television set, but also on Facebook and YouTube. Tune in on facebook.com/btvchattogram and www.youtube.com/@btvchattogram. Now, I would most humbly like to request our honorable moderator to preside over the competition and start the debate.
Thank you very much for your nice introduction. And dear audience, welcome you all to the first inter-school English debate competition. And you already know that we have two very eminent speaker team in this session. And the topic is really very burning and alarming issues. I think almost each and every family is concerned about this issue. The topic of today is parents should have partial control over their children's social media accounts. We have two teams. One is affirmative team who support the topic, and another is opposing team who will tell about the against the topic. Now, without any further delay, I am requesting our first speaker who will talk on supporting the issue, that is for the motion, from Feni Girls Cadet College. First speaker, Cadet Nuri. I am requesting Cadet Nuri to present her topic.
A 15-year-old Chinese boy, Shang Fu Pe, whose parents forced him to delete all his social media accounts despite of his strong disagreement, which later made him suffer from FOMO disorder and at the end cost his life. That is exactly why Whitney Houston once said, "I believe children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty that possesses inside." Most respected moderator, learned judges and august gathering. Assalamu alaikum and a very good day to all. In today's debate, the topic has been selected as parents should have partial control over their children's social media accounts. And for obvious reasons, I firmly stand for the motion. So let me start by defining the four vital terms in our today's motion. They are parents, partial control, children, and social media. So first, the core responsibility of our parents, aside from ensuring all other essentials, is giving directions, setting limits, teaching values, mainly to guide the children to grow a sense of responsibility in them so that they can choose the right thing amidst the ocean of wrong things. According to Forbes, partial controlling means monitoring, not to dominate but rather to guide and assist. International law depicts that any individual under the age of 18 is considered as a child. This law is supported by 192 nations of UN. And lastly, social media is such platform through which our children are gaining knowledge and exploring identities and nurturing their creativity to make a persona out of infinite possibilities. But to inform the children to learn where to stop is the responsibility of our parents. So, if we dive deeper into parenting, there are mainly four styles, among which two are vastly practiced. So first, in authoritarian parenting, the family is parents-driven, which means the parents have full control over their child's activities, interests, and needs. It is almost like the child is a string puppet to the parents. On the other hand, in authoritative parenting, the parents are highly responsive and also highly demanding, putting a perfect balance to the interests of the child and parents. That is exactly what partial controlling is. It's to let your child have a say in your existence. Now, learned upon it, www.cnbc.com says the best parenting style for children is authoritative parenting. According to Norton, children growing up in authoritative parenting household, they have high self-esteem, high self-confidence, and are academically valid. Several successful people like Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, Malala Yousafzai are from supporting and guiding parents. On the other hand, the children growing up in controlling households suffer from severe trust issues, social anxiety, and lack of creativity. So learn upon it, when the best outcome is in partial controlling, why are you denying it? It is really mystery to me that you're choosing the fragile way instead of the oblivious way. Now, social media is an inevitable part of the modern world, connecting every nook and corner, creating a free platform to share thoughts and opinions. But the most evident part of social media is it spreads awareness with click of a single button. In 2020, the Black Lives Matter riot ignited the flame of justice in every home. Hashtag Free Palestine raised up to $87 million, which was later donated to the hungry and suffering children of Palestine. Social media has its undeniable contribution in spreading awareness about mental health and body image. But just like Marian Elderman once said, in every seed of good, there's a piece of bad. According to comparetech.com, 25.6% of children are a victim of cyberbullying. According to CloudWord, it says that 60% of children are insecure about their own body image due to the negative comments under their post. That to help us to get out of this gloom of social media, our parents have to play their part. They have to hold their hand through the gloom of social media and unleash us in the positive vastness. So learned opponent, without the certain control of the parents, wouldn't the child start to walk towards the unilluminated path of social media? In the Bible, the scripture of the most practiced religion in the world, it is written that guide your children in the path they should go, and when he's old, he'll never depart from it. In the Holy Quran also, it's written that guide your children, rectify their mistakes, and show them the path of ultimate prosperity. Learned opponent, that is almost 4 billion people in support of our today's motion. Doesn't that make you the minority? And also, moreover, irrespective of religion, race, or culture, 7 billion people support the International Law of Europe Council, which depicts that any individual, including children, should have right to privacy and freedom. Dear opponent, I believe you're being derailed from the path of truth. So let me invite you to ultimate candor that parents should have partial control over their children's social media account. Thanks to all.
Thank you, Cadet Nuri, for nice warm-up of this competition. Now I am requesting the speaker who will talk against the motion, that is opposition team from Bangladesh Elementary School, Muhtasim Mubashir.
Thank you, Honorable Moderator, for giving me the floor to speak and express my views against the motion, which is parents should have partial control over the children's social media accounts. A very compelling and a very intriguing topic it is. Well, I believe all of us here are more or less familiar with what social media is and why, in our current day and age, we simply cannot avoid it. Let us quickly deconstruct some of the main terms of our debate. Partial control. In this case, partial control is referring to the partial supervision, restriction, or administration by parents on their children's social media accounts. Parental control settings, which are present in various social media applications, are the prevailing form of such partial control. Now, as we are the team against the motion, we strongly oppose the idea of such partial control. But why? Before I clarify as to why we are opposed to it, I would like to also clarify that we are not against the use of social media. We are against the controlling of parents, not against social media. Now, as to why we oppose the partial control, there are two primary reasons. Number one, partial control is not at all a necessity, and instead we advocate parental guidance and government regulations. And number two, partial control itself has a set of drawbacks. As to why we believe that it is not a necessity, Honorable Moderator, in the 21st century we've seen the various sides of social media, the good, the bad, and the ugly, but we still cannot avoid it. Well, to prevent the bad and the ugly of social media, what we believe will help instead of parental control is parental guidance. We must remember that guidance and control are two completely separate terms. Parental control is how parents enforce their children into various ideologies, while parental guidance is how they teach their children through various experiences and how to deal with the real world scenarios. Now, the term partial control itself is very problematic. How much exactly is partial? I would like to ask, how much exactly defines partial? Because to some parents, partial control may mean the usage of social media for 1 hour a day. To other parents, it may mean the usage of social media for 1 hour a week. Some parents may only allow their children to use social media for texting purposes. Others may only allow their children to use social media for watching video contents. Both are partially controlling, but are not the same. They are completely different, and this is a subjective matter which differs from person to person, parent to parent. Now, not only do we believe that partial control is a gray areas topic, we also believe that it is something that has quite a lot of downsides. There are many downsides of partial control. For example, it restricts the ideologies, the new thinking skills, and the overall socialization of a child when it comes to engaging in social media. Social media plays a great role in expanding, diversifying, and shaping the worldview of a child. But under constant restriction, the child's ideologies become limited only to the beliefs of his or her parents. we must remember that not all parents have objectively, morally, ethically correct beliefs. Some of them, in fact, have extremist values, especially in conservative countries. Under parental control, which you advocate, what would happen? Such extremist values will be passed down from the parent to the child, and then the rest is simply history. We know what happens. In many cases, partial control or parental control is simply ineffective. Let me tell you why. Parents who are engaged in various job sectors can never monitor their children's activities 24/7. Again, there are many parents who are illiterate and their children know more about social media than themselves. Some parents are ignorant and indifferent towards their children and they simply don't care about them. But in these cases, do you think partial control is of any avail? Question remains. Again, parental controls can also be bypassed. Honorable Moderator, in an article from techdetox.com, they stated 23 ways how partial control or parental controls can be bypassed. 23 ways, that's quite a lot. Again, instead of partial control, we prefer parental guidance and government regulations. Of course, there are some loopholes which may be abused by criminals online, but government regulations can help eradicate them. The Bangladesh Telecommunication Regulatory Commission has already taken various steps in this regard. It has formed cybersecurity cells, has taken policy decisions, and is monitoring such cyber crimes or questionable contents online 24/7. Harmful websites can be easily blocked by BTRC. In the recent years, through communicating with the platforms, the BTRC has successfully blocked thousands of such accounts. My fellow teammates will take a deeper dive into this matter. I would now like to conclude my speech here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mutasim Mubashir, for your excellent introduction against the motion. Now I am requesting our second speaker from the supporting team, Cadet Razlan.
Suppose you're given a map with many routes and many destinations. Your parents are there to pin out exactly which route you have to take, leaving no open space for you. That is full control. But they leave you with a map, giving you no guidance on which matter to take, giving you no idea about the possibilities or the adversities. That is no control. But partial control means you're allowed to sail your own ship and they give you the stop signs when you're about to take a wrong turn. You know about the possibilities and adversities because they have given you the guidelines, but they're still controlling you by giving those stop lines when you're taking a risk from those matters, because you have that partial control from your parents. Most respected moderator, thank you for giving me the stage. Fellow judges and August gathering, Assalamu alaikum. Today we're here debating on a topic that resonates deeply with our future generation. Parents should have partial control over their children's social media accounts. And for obvious reasons, I stand strongly for the motion. My dear opponent, you have said that if parents in working places cannot control their children, they're monitoring them. Well, that is why those parental control system exists. Those exist to monitor those children through another phone. They have to give an access to their Gmails because they can access their children and monitor them through those parental controls. Those were created to filter the content they see online. Those were created to prevent inappropriate content from accessing them. Those were created so they do not become derailed. So that is why those parental lock systems were introduced. And Discord itself indicates, although the parents will be able to see the profiles and communities their child interacts with, they won't be able to see the context of the text because it hampers their privacy, because they have consulted with psychologists and found out that partial control is the best solution because their parents can monitor them, but the children will have their privacy, as www.techcrunch.com states on behalf of the Discord authorities. So, if a platform like Discord with hundreds of users believe that partial control is the way and not giving no control at all nor full control at all, so why are you, my dear opponent, opposing such a great matter? Even in adolescence age, they are very vulnerable for changing their views. It's a time for transition and changes. So obviously, they will want to oppose the guidelines their parents impose on them. You'll obviously see how they are opposing the guidelines their parents strict on them. They say go right, they'll go left because it is the instinct of adolescence of a children. Even it shows that Telegram, a Russian website, 60% of them accessing it is children aged from 16 to 18. And a Bangladeshi user on that, named as Mark Zuckerberg, sells inappropriate content on it, who is only a 17-year-old. And that their parent didn't have any partial control on them. They gave them guidelines, but which he didn't follow because he's an adolescent. He opposed the ruling. So that is why he's now selling those all invalid things. My dear opponent, you said that partial guidance is required. We're not opposing guidelines. We're saying partial control. Partial control supports parental guidelines with some extra restrictions. Because you're saying to them do something, but you don't implement any action. How do you imagine the thing to become reality? You're saying your child. That is why people say deeds, not words. Because we believe in restrictions. We believe in limitations. Not saying, don't do this. But when they go astray, we limit them from it. Suppose your children is watching something bad on some inappropriate content. You have guided them that don't watch it. But they're adolescents. They want to oppose what you are saying. But when you say, do not do this, this is bad for you, you're restricting them. They will understand. But their guidelines, you may have no idea about what they are going to do because you're only guiding them. You have no monitoring on them. You need to monitor them to see what is good for them. Now, my dear opponent, suppose you are a parent yourself. You leave your children with only guidance on the mobile phone, leaving no control on them. And then you come back to see, you search up, you see them scrolling Facebook every day. But they hide it from you whenever you come close to them. But then you search up their name online to see that they have become something you never expected from them because you put no stop signs on them and now they're doing this, opposing your every move on them. So what's the potential of only guiding them, giving them no restrictions, giving them no limitations and giving them no boundaries, giving them full ideas and only guiding them? So you should set some boundaries to them because that is when they'll understand which is best for them. They'll feel like my parents have set boundaries. That means they're doing good for me. And even though guidelines, you're saying guidelines, but the usage of screen time for adults aged from 16 to 64 is 7 hours a day, and the teenagers use it 7.5 hours a day, which is 12 to 16, meaning that they are learning from you. They're getting guidance from you. You're using your mobile for 7 hours and they're using for 7.5 hours. You're not restricting them. You're simply saying, guide me, follow me. That's why they're also having a huge screen control time. Now, suppose you are a parent. You leave them with guidelines, but you see that they're not working. So won't you impose some restrictions? Question to my dear opponent. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cadet Razlan, for further strengthening your supporting team. And now I am requesting the second speaker of the team who are opposing the topic, Zerin Anan Uma.
Let children be children. Give them wings, not strings. Children strive when given space to grow. A very good afternoon to my honorable moderators, respected judges, my fellow opponents, and the people who are present here today. Our today's debate topic is parents should have partial control over their children's social media account, and me and my team will prove that parents should not have any partial control over their children's social media accounts where it is a barrier for my opponent team to prove the stated topic. First of all, I'm very sorry to say that my opponent team made a very huge mistakes in understanding the difference between partial control and parental guidance. Then, well, their topic is about partial control. They are talking to make it complete control, my dear opponents. So, the term partial control, my dear opponents, as my first speaker already stated the definitions about the partial control, now I would like to show you some sectors of partial control. First of all, it is open control. Second of all, it is control behind the curtain. Now, in the sector of open control, the children might think that their parents are restricting them, are not giving them their freedom. They are taking away their right of freedom of expressions. In the second sector that is controlling behind the curtain is that parents keep hidden accessibility on their children's phone with whom they are chatting or which app they are using in which time, all are known by their parents hiddenly. Do you think that, my dear opponents, when the children will know about it, will be able to trust his parents second time? Will that child will be enough free to share anything next time when he will be able to know that her parents is keeping hidden accessibility on his or her phone, my dear opponents? I hope I will get the answer. Now, my dear opponents, the factor partial control will make children insecure. They will feel hesitate to share anything with their parents An incident few years ago happened in Chattogram. Sneha was only 13 years old girl when he was used to be disturbed by a guy of her local area. Then, because her parents used to control her in everything, she didn't get even courage to share this with her parents. She didn't even get courage to share with the relatives because her social media and everything were used to be checked by her parents. Now, my dear opponents, one day that man threw acid on her face because she was not accepting her source Prothomalo 2019. Now, my dear opponents, can you deny the fact that partial control is not creating a fear about knowing about the incident, my dear opponents? Answer me, please. Now, a question may arise from them that I'm only showing demerits. So, what will be the way to solve this, my dear opponents? The way will be parental guidance, my dear oppositions. Now, what is parental guidance? Parental guidance is associated with better mental health with parents' proper guideline, proper value, grow with proper moral values. Dear oppositions, here the mental health has to be highlighted. Parental guidance doesn't make our children suffer from mental health problem, but partial control does. Our children will never agree with the term partial control over their social media account. They become aggressive, they become depressed. Regarding this, US search on Vivek Murthy told, controlling our children will make their spirit shatter. In freedom they grow, but in chains may wither. Let us see our evidence regarding this. In Dhaka, a 13-year-old girl left her home at night because her parents connected her social media with their accounts and she was able to know and she protested about it, but her parents didn't agree with her, so she thought if she left home, her parents might agree. When at that night the girl left the home, she was sexually harassed. Source Doinik Shangram. We all can see here the term partial control in the case of Amira was horrible. Don't you think, my dear fellow opponents, here the lack of the term parental guidance took place if the child were given proper moral values, proper guidance from childhood, then her parents don't even need to control her over social media, my dear oppositions. Me and my first speaker already proved that there is no need of parental guidance. The thing that is only needed is parental guidance, my dear oppositions. Last but not the least, my opposition has stated about the bad effects and impacts of social media, including access to explicit content. Well, in this case, the lack of moral values and ethics is very much noticeable, but with the implementations of proper parental guidance, the lacking can be solved. As said by Larry Page, today we stood for such a system that represents reality. As said by Larry Page, you can try to control people or you can try to have a system that represents reality. I find that knowing what really happened is more important than trying to control people. And I'm very sorry to say that my oppositions is rather increasing the children's anxiety, depression by supporting partial control instead of fixing it, my dear opposition. Thank you.
Let's hear from the supporting team, that is, who will talk for the motion of the topic. Team leader, Kared Rufaida.
Lights, camera, partial control. The movie of the social media life of children premieres and immediately becomes a blockbuster. Guess why? Because parents were not advocated as the autonomous directors who only guided their children, but let me introduce the star of the movie. Partial control. The strategy that advocates parents to be such directors who lets their children on stage be such actors who shine with creativity and liberty, armed with the scripts of authenticity and resilience. And are you wondering why I replace the term action with partial control? Well, that's because the only logical action that parents can take in this digital era is partial control, not only parental guidelines. Dear opponent, guess what you have said? The second speaker has said that in this era, we do not need parental guidance, but only need parental guidance. Isn't that a bit self-contradictory, dear second speaker? Well, let me start. Thank you, Honorable Moderator, for giving me the floor. Respected judges, fellow debaters, and all this gathering, greetings. Today we're debating on a topic that profoundly shares the future of digital natives, that as parents should have partial control on their children's social media accounts. And I, based on undeniable facts, stand here as a firm proponent in support of the motion. Among four main points in my speech, let's get started with the first one: nurturing healthy growth and development of children. Let me remind you, dear opponent, partial control means the sum of parental guidelines and some actions when children are taking risks on their own because they are in the adolescent period. My teammates have already mentioned what partial control is and why is it important, but observing how my dear opponents are repeating the same points over and over again, that only parental guidance is needed instead of partial control, makes me believe that my dear opponents did not pay any heed to any of my teammates' speech. But do not worry, because I will be clarifying the speech once again. Kindly pay attention, dear opponents. Partial control in the parenting is just the perfect balance between excessive control and negligency, which you are meaning by parental guidance. We give children space for personal development, but no control, meaning parental guidance, proposes parents to make their children free in the dangerous crossroads. Suppose your opponent, different drugs with various speeds and high speeds are coming in a crossroad. Will you let your children as a parent go in their crossway without letting them know about the traffic rules or letting them know about the foot-over bridge? No, right? Because no parents are needing them for their children to be dead in the middle of the road. Honorable Moderator, according to a study published in the Journal of Children and Media in June 2022, it is revealed that children whose social media accounts are partially monitored and partially controlled by their parents tend to take better and smarter decisions in 64% cases. I repeat, dear opponents, 64% cases than the one. Source www.techtoday.com. Doesn't that already prove our motion correct? Once again, dear opponent, what will be your alternative to this point? By only parental guidance of parents and not letting them take any decisions when they are facing any risks in their adolescent period, dear opponent, aren't you just removing all opportunities for children to protect themselves from risks and protect themselves from cyberbullying, sexual harassment, and other risks? We need to navigate the digital ocean. We need to navigate our children and their future generation into the digital ocean by letting them take decisions of their own. For example, Pew Research Center among 90 countries reveals that 72% parents partially monitor and control their children's social media accounts, and a whopping 91% teenagers are fully happy with it. Dear opponent, 91% teenagers with partial control, not partial guidelines, dear opponent, partial control, are happy with their parents partially controlling their social media accounts. That already proves our motion correct again for the second time. If the ultimate solution, dear opponent, is full control or parental guidelines only, then why are majority of the parents and teenagers supporting and prioritizing partial control, not parental guidance, partial control for in the majority of the times? Question remains. Dear opponent, let me remind you that Family Online Safety reports that 68% teenagers with overbearing control and only partial guidelines, not partial control, dear opponent, partial guidelines of their parents, know how to hide their online activities from their parents, and 53.9% of the teenagers are already regularly hiding them from their parents. So ask my opponents, what is the benefit of only partial guidelines when most of the parents are not even knowing what children are doing behind their back? I will be waiting for your answer. Let's look at my third one, building trust and strong communication. You, by partial guidelines, are only telling that during the adolescent time, when they are adolescents are reported to take high risks, you are telling that adolescents will only listen to their words, not deeds. Suppose your children, as a parent, your children is facing sexual harassment, but he is forced and dealt by strong emotions, because in adolescent time they are dealt by strong emotions. They will not be listening only to your words, but when they are taking risks, you need to take actions by restricting them from several boundaries, because there are risks. You do not want your children to be sexually harassed online, would you, dear opponent? In this world, when control and guidelines is only a world that just does not define children's social media, it needs a dynamic approach than just domination or only partial guidelines. Our opponents might dream of a world where parents are holding their keyboards to type the narratives of their children, but we as a team are dreaming of a world where children are typing their own narratives with partial control as their spell checker. At the end, I would like to invite our opponents to the ultimate truth, and I would request them to rectify their mistakes, because admitting the truth is the only way. Parents should have partial control over their children's social media account. Thank you.
Thank you, Cadet Rufaida, for your bold and very strong arguments for the motion. Now I am requesting Waziha Chaudhary from Bangladesh Elementary School to talk against the motion. She is team leader of this.
Very sorry, but my dear opponents are confusing me throughout their speech because they didn't even understand the topic.
Teaching children self-control is like giving them a compass for life's journey, while attempting to control them is trying to hold their hand every step of the way. Thank you, Honorable Moderator, for giving me this stage to speak. Today, the motion that have been raised is parents should have partial control over their children's social media account, and for some actual and factual reasons, we stand against it. Honorable Moderator, we believe that partial control is not effective. Firstly, it disturbs a child's natural development. Secondly, it hinders the healthy relationship between the parents and their children. Thirdly, it creates an unhealthy relationship between the parents. Let's imagine if a child is under constant monitoring and restriction, naturally the child will seek out ways to get rid of such restriction. As a result, conflicts will occur, or the child may adopt means to bypass the parental controls to various ways. Besides, parenting apps are bad if they come with lazy parenting. The use of these apps without the understanding and cooperation of a child can be toxic. I don't think so anyone wants to live in a toxic environment where he or she is monitored 24/7, my dear opponents. Dear opponents, controlling is harsh and it confines a person and ruins its individualism. Can you yourself remain in an environment where you are confined with no sense of individualism and be dependent on others to make your own decisions? Partial control is a matter of personal opinion. When one parent considers to be partial control, another parent might consider it to be too much or too little. There is no specific answer, and it is up each parent to decide what works best for their family. That's why it cannot ever be a proper and uniform solution, my dear opponents. Children are like jellyfish. They are vulnerable, soft, and should be handled with great care. Controlling or authoritative parenting is not appropriate for them. Honorable Moderator, the first and second speaker of our team has already explained the concept of parental guidance and why we advocate it as an effective and alternative solution. Let me give you an example. When parents are controlling their child and forbidding them or restricting them to do anything, they might feel like it's an obstruction to their ideas, views, and opinions. But when they rear up their child with proper parental guidance, discipline, proper attention, moral values, at that point of time they will understand that their parents are doing this for their well-being, and they will think 100 times before taking any wrong decision, my dear opponents. I would like to repeat that controlling is harsh. On the other hand, when you're guiding your child by telling him the both perspective and let him or her decide which one is more effective, my dear opponents, guidance, right? Parental guidance can build a responsible individual by three means: sense of morality, sense of consciousness, sense of ethics. When these three factors are combined together, it builds a healthy relationship between the children and their parents. A more fair communication-based bond is created among them. But partial control creates a sense of fear among the children, for which they become hesitant to speak out to their parents. A hide-and-seek relationship takes place. In the context of Bangladesh, the parents have a tendency of forcing things on their children instead of properly explaining, teaching, or understanding. But is this actually good for the natural growth of the child? I don't think so. On the other hand, if the child has been given the autonomy, the opposite happens. Healthy relationship takes place and the child becomes the parent's best friend. I repeat, parent's best friend. Honorable Moderator, we use social media to expand our views, to learn and to communicate. But when the user is being controlled by parents and being forced into restrictions, does that not violate the user's freedom of speech, thought and expression? Now, my dear opponents may argue that social media has certain bad effects for which they want the enforcement of partial control. But if the child has been educated thoroughly, proper given guidance throughout his or her life, and then at that point of time, parents don't even have to do anything with the so-called term partial. Says the child will be able to avoid any issues on its own once it has been made aware. Government regulation can play an effective role on social media account by setting some rules and regulation, code and conduct. In Uttar, a state of US government has imposed regulation over children social media account, like age verification is a must. Children have to take consent from parents before opening a social media account. Moreover, it restricts kids under 18 from using social media between the hours 10:30 and 6:30 a.m. And it also prevents tech companies from luring kids to their apps using addictive features and blocks all the porn sites, and age-wise contents are provided. If anyone even tries to share any kind of misinformation to a child account, then it will be automatically removed. Besides, children under 18 will not be able to use TikTok more than 60 minutes. After 60 minutes, it will be blocked, and again it will get activated after 2 to 3 hours. Source TILT magazine of USA. By implementing these regulations, Uttar become the only state to limit children's social media account. In this way, if the government of our country can ensure such rules and regulations, then the problem that you guys are even mentioning will not be raised, and the problem will be solved from the root. This regulation will play a role of roadmap for the parents to
guide their children. Dear opponents, that's why we believe that parental guidance side by side government regulation will play an effective role rather than partial control. Thank you.
Now the most exciting part of a debate is rebuttal phase, which is counter arguments of each team. Now I am requesting in this phase for to talk on supporting the topic for the motion team leader, Cadet Rufaida.
Thank you, Honorable Moderator, for giving me the floor again. Well, dear opponent, unintentional again, you have said in support of our motion because partial guidelines does not support TikTok's parental control or restricting them for using 16 hours of TikTok. But partial control supports the parental locks in TikTok social medias like Instagram, Snapchat, or Facebook. You're forgetting that parental guidelines is included in the term partial parental control itself. I have said already that partial parental control sums up partial parental guidelines and the actions restricting them for risks. Dear opponent, please pay attention that Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman in his book Ashamapto Attajivani stated that his parents partially controlled his political life. He said whenever he took any wrong decisions, his parents guided him from the wrong path to the right path. For example, when he almost went against Shere Bangla A.K. Fazlul Haq, his parents guided him to the right path, but they never dictated or never only gave partial guidelines to your opponent. Isn't it already proving our motion correct once again? Dear opponent, the biggest social medias, for example, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok, and Discord are supporting partial parental control, consulting with the psychologists of European Council of Psychiatry of Children and Mind Development. Partial parental control includes restricting them from using any kind of illegal videos and restricts them from watching any porn sites, restricts them from being sexually harassed and cyberbullied. Dear opponent, you're not understanding our points clearly because you're telling partial control is equal to full control. Seems like you didn't understand and learn the equations of mathematics properly because you're completely over and over again telling that partial control is equal to full control. We have not told that. Partial control gives children the space for liberty and the space for exploration of their new ideas in the social medias. But we are not fully controlling them. We are not restricting them fully. We are giving them space, dear opponent. So, dear opponent, the time has come for you to shun your false notion and embrace the ultimate truth that parents should have partial control instead of only partial guidelines in case of controlling their children's social media accounts. Thank you.
Thank you, Cadet Rufaida, for your final argument. Now I am requesting Waziha Chaudhuri for her last argumentative speech.
I'm repeating again and again, my opposition are making a huge mistake in understanding the difference between parental guidance and partial control. The same way you seek a world better for children, we also want one. But not through control, but rather through guidance and government restrictions. The restriction you want from parents, we want it from government, my dear opponents. When you mention patriotism, it does not come from control. Rather, it comes from guidance, my dear opponents. You are mentioning that Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman did it because he had partial control. But I don't think the patriotism comes from partial control. Honorable Moderator, after hearing the speech of my dear opponents, I found a famous phrase relatable. Arguing that you don't care about privacy because you have nothing to hide is like you don't care about speech because you have nothing to say. Privacy is privacy, no matter if he or she is a child, an adult, or an elder person. If you want your child to share everything with you, teach them, make them understand. But by forcing things or controlling, you can never gain their trust, my dear opponents. Dear opponents, we have stated again and again that partial control is subjective. To some parents, what they consider is extreme control might be obviously normal to others. This mentality differs from person to person, place to place, parent to parent, culture to culture. Although you have given your own ideas of what partial control is, realistically, not everybody is going to follow that. So, my dear opponents, how can you guarantee that the partial control wouldn't go to the extreme? The problem that you guys are raising again and again will not even be a matter if the government regulations are implemented, and also if the children have proper guidance about what they should do with the boundaries set by government, because the regulation implies for every single child of the state. Honorable Moderator, controlling by any means can never be a proper solution, as with the so-called term partial. If you restrict your child by saying that don't do this, don't do that, don't talk to him or her, then by judging their so-called social
media actions without even knowing the truth. Is it not wrong, my dear opponents? Till now we have proved that why we believe partial control is not effective. Instead, parental guidance and government regulation together is the only solution. And I hope our dear opponents will also agree with us. Thank you.
Dear audience, you must enjoy the speech of both the team, and I really enjoyed last few minutes. We will wait for the result given by our honorable judges. Our today's topic is, as you know, parents should have partial control over their children's social media accounts. And as I said earlier, each and every family is concerned about this issue. And you know that there are different types of social media, and the lowest signing age of social media is 13. And that is Facebook, YouTube, Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, which is very popular nowadays. The lowest age is 13, and in South Korea the lowest age of sign in TikTok is 14, and in LinkedIn it is 16 years of age. But several studies have been done on this issue, and they found that below 13 years, around 30 to 40% kids are already using this social media. So there are some risk and benefit of this use, and the benefits are that early learning, exposure to new ideas and new knowledge. They will get health information and many new information by using social media, and also have access to social content and any celebrity or any learned person. The negative impact on health is actually it decreases sleep. The blue light emitting from the smartphone that decreases our endogenous melatonin, which decreases quality of sleep, and this sleep disturbance will disturb the next daytime work performance. So, and not only this, it also increases the incidence of obesity and depression, as we encountered this issue in last COVID period, where there was lockdown and most of the students were bound in the four wall of the home. Besides that, exposure to inaccurate, inappropriate and unsafe content and contact, and these will also compromise their privacy and confidentiality. But you know, to promote good health and mental well-being, a kid must have regular healthy diet, physical activity, good sleep, good hygiene, and nurturing the social environment. So how to control these kids using social media? And there is some study, and most of the parents gave their opinion that they should not directly control over the use of social media of their kid, but they should teach their kids how to use this social media, when and how they safely use the internet, what should be shared in the social media and what should not be shared in the social media, how they should behave with comments, whether it is positive comments or negative comments, how they behave with cyberbullying. So and never try to know the password of social media, rather help your kids how to have strong password. So it needs a very good family interrelationship with kids and parents. And besides this, parents also should have control their habit, because if our kids will follow our parents, they should not always listen the advice. So our parents should also control their screen time. So there must be a balance. They will make boundaries between the screen time and their other activities, and encourage our children to appropriate critical thinking about using social media, and they make good communication in their families and implementation of consistent rules to use social media. We have our result in our hand. Our today's winner, Bangladesh Elementary School. Our best speaker, Waziha Chowdhury. Congratulations, Bangladesh Elementary School, and congratulations, Waziha Chowdhury, and best of luck for Feni Girls Cadet College. Thank you very much, dear audience, for your patience hearing. And here is the end of the first inter-school English debate competition. Thank you very much.